What is up, everybody? Welcome to Nerding Out Sports. It's Rob and Donald, and already shout outs to Alex and Tony are in the chat waiting for us. We appreciate you being here. Biggest game of the season. I would call it a must-win. Giants, Commanders, playoff spot potentially on the line here in Week 13. How are we feeling going into this Sunday, Donald?
Well, we've got a lot to cover. Obviously, it'd be good to touch on the Cowboys. Where we were after the Cowboys. If we're more confident, we should maybe touch on that. First of all, shout out to Alex, who I did a stream with on Boys in the Big Apple and the Big Blue in the Bronx. So anybody who hasn't already done so, please subscribe to that channel. Shout out to Tony. So listen, this is our playoffs now. We're now in the playoff stretch. It's debatable whether we need 9 or 10 wins, but we got to win. We got to win. To be perfectly honest, we probably need to sweep this series against Washington.
Yeah,
probably need to sweep the home and away. But certainly can't lose both if you want to make the playoffs. But where are you with regards to the coaching staff? Let's start with that.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of people souring on it, for whatever reason. I don't think that's fair because when we were 6-1, 7-2, it was this coaching staff is great. We haven't had anything like this since the early days of Coughlin, and everyone was raving about how good Dable is and how good Wink is, and Kafka is. The play calling isn't amazing, but we also don't have a ton of things to work with in this offense. So you really can't expect it to be a perfect offense without the weapons. So I think we have to take this coaching staff for what it is, and it's going through a learning phase just like this whole roster is. It's their first year, and we're already we have 7 wins at this point. We've hit a little bit of a snag along the way, but we're also working with what's been an injured offensive line, a lack of weapons, our starting tight end getting hurt. We're using practice squad players all over the roster. I don't think you can say this coaching staff has been bad. In fact, I think it's already overachieved. Wink's getting incredible performances out of players that probably shouldn't be playing this well on the defense. The defense is keeping us in games. Yeah, they've given up some big plays and points, but again, the talent is not all there for this team to be. The fact that we're even in this position to say right now, today, the playoff push begins. Did anyone think that would be the case going into this season? You have to give this coaching staff credit. You have to give these players credit for buying into it. It's a collective unit. I think anyone who's starting to sour on these guys now because of the last couple of weeks specifically, is this what winning does to people? Because we were all ready and willing to just kind of go with the flow this year. Let's see what we can do and then get ready for next season. Now we're in a position to make the playoffs, and people are like, they got to be perfect every week. We knew it wasn't going to be perfect. So I can't sit here and be like, yeah, I think Kafka was the wrong hire. If there's a weak link, I guess it would have to be Kafka. But again, look at what he's trying to coach on the offensive side of the ball. It isn't fair to come out here and say Kafka is bad at his job because he just doesn't have weapons like a team like the Commanders do, or the Eagles, or the Cowboys, or even the Lions. We don't have that yet. If we get more weapons next year, then you can really begin a fair assessment on this coaching staff, specifically with Kafka. So that's where I'm seeing it with the most.
Sup, Luca? Great point. So you're very much on the board that this is a personnel issue rather than coaching.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're starting backups to backups on the offensive line, practice squad receivers, practice squad tight ends, and we're still able to put up some points. I mean, the fact that we're averaging just about 20 points a game with this offense, when we were not doing that last year with a more complete, technically, offense in terms of personnel, I think that says something about the staff.
The reason why we were 7-4 is because of our coaching staff. It ain't to do our personnel. Now, we have a couple of players that we can build upon, but being clear, this is Brian Dable and just as much Wink Martindale as Dable for the 7-4 record. They've turned water into wine, quite honestly. quite miraculous work from our coaching staff. So yeah, I won't hear any criticism of our coaching staff. Now, if I want to maybe go into specific games and specific moments and specific drives, yes, I think Kafka deserves probably the most focus. And what I would do, I don't know if you would agree with this, but I would have Brian Dable not necessarily call plays, but I want him to be very involved in the offensive play calling from here on out. At least make it a situation where at times Dable controls the play calling, because he is one of the great offensive minds in football. So obviously we don't know how much input he has. Maybe he has a lot. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know. Maybe he's given Kafka the full reins. But either way, I think that Dable needs to be very involved in the play calling from here on out, and I would make him at least half the time play calling, because I think that would help us, because the second half, our offensive play calling just felt weird. It just felt wrong. There was just something that wasn't quite right, especially the fourth quarter when we were down 2 scores. All these draw plays to Gary Brightwell. Now, I understand Brightwell was running better than Saquon, but I mean, when you're down 2 scores, why are you letting the play clock run to 1 almost on every single down? And then why are you handing off to Gary Brightwell in like 3 straight plays? Like, they didn't even try and go downfield, and it took 7 minutes off the clock. When you're trying to chase the game, it felt like a punt. It felt like, hey, listen, if damage limitation, let's try and get as much out of this fourth quarter as possible so we don't get completely whitewashed. It felt like that. I hope that wasn't the case, but it certainly felt like the case. I don't know why they're so afraid of Daniel Jones airing it out when you're down 2 scores in the fourth quarter. I mean, I can partially understand keeping the reins on him while the game is still close or in hand, or maybe the Giants are up or whatever. But when you're chasing the game, you got to let him fly. So what if he gives up an interception? Like, who cares? Like, at least you're trying to get the ball downfield. You're down 2 scores anyway. What are you going to lose? You're going to lose anyway. So I didn't quite understand that, if I was being really honest. Also, another thing I didn't understand was there was the very first drive looked like how we were going to call the rest of the game. Remember that first drive? There was a lot of boots.
First play. Very first play.
Yes. Jones was using his legs. And he was getting the ball downfield. He was making nice plays. There was a couple of screens. And then, of course, the touchdown to Hodgins on a nice boot. And you thought, okay, this is something. Like, the Cowboys are struggling with this. But then it was almost immediately after that, they just stopped doing that. Yep. It was completely stopped. They never went back to anything like that. So I do think that there's an issue with the offensive play calling to some extent. But, I mean, by and large, this coaching staff's done a wonderful job. So the fact that we're 7-4 and we're talking playoffs is very much a credit to our coaching staff. But I think we can certainly look at individual instances. I would also look at the Texans' game plan. I think that has actually had effect on the Cowboys game, because they rode Saquon Barkley like Seabiscuit. 71% of the play calls were to Saquon Barkley. And I think they burned him out, man, because he's not had the explosion since then. You could see it in his legs. His lower half doesn't have quite the explosion. Now, you can maybe blame it on I hear he's got a shoulder injury or whatever, but I think that it's his lower half, which is more concerning. He just seems a little slower. He wasn't efficient against the Lions, and they still rode him hard. And the Texans, I think they just sold themselves out. I think they robbed Peter to pay Paul to get that win against the Texans, because they knew they needed that win if they had any shot at the playoffs. But they burned out Saquon in the process. And because they don't trust our receivers and they don't trust our quarterback, they certainly don't trust probably our interior offensive line to some extent. We haven't learned anything about what will happen if our run game falls apart. Do we have a pass game that can get us downfield? We've not learned that yet, and it looks like they're afraid to show it. Where are you in some of those points?
I think you're spot on. I still go back to that Texan game because I don't know why they would not let Jones throw the ball, because we've seen early on in a couple of games this year, Jacksonville and I think Houston, we saw it against Dallas, they test the deep ball. They test the passing game, and it seems to work. And then, like you mentioned, they go away from it. That first drive, they get the bootleg to Cager on the very first play. They get like 20 yards or whatever it was. They had the touchdown to Hodgins, like you said, that gets called back with the penalty. But they didn't go back to that. Then they had that drive where they hit the big play to Slayton and they got in the end zone. And they never went back to it. Like, they never tested anything out. And this is, even though I get it, you're playing to win, you're playing for the playoffs now, but it's still an experimental year. You have to see what Daniel Jones can give you, because I'm on the fence, but I'm kind of leaning at this point that you kind of have to bring Daniel Jones back next year, because I just don't think we're going to be in a position to take one of the better quarterbacks in this draft. And I don't think we're going to have the finances to go after a Jimmy Garoppolo, like a lot of people keep mentioning him. And are any of these other free agent quarterbacks going to be better than what you're getting out of Daniel Jones? I certainly don't think Tyrod Taylor is going to be the guy, or else we would have seen him by now. So I think Jones kind of has to be back next year, and you hope that you can surround him with better weapons and a better line, and then we can really take off from there. But you have to let Jones do his thing. Brian Daboll, before the season, said, we can't be afraid to take risks. If he throws interceptions, that's part of the game. So let him take those risks, Brian Daboll. Like, that's it's like everything Daboll has done this year has been great. It's been such a completely, it's been night and day between him and the way Judge was running things. But stick to your word a little bit there, Daves. I got to give you a little criticism there. Let Daniel Jones air it out. I know we don't have the personnel to really do it, but you have Slayton. You'll be getting. I think this week they'll test it out, because Bellinger's supposed to be back. The offensive line's supposed to be a lot healthier. Evan Neal's back. Bredesen's back. I believe Bredesen's back, but he's trending upwards to play. This could be the week where they really test it out, and it can take a little bit of the pressure off Saquon, because that's when our offense was clicking. Even though we weren't scoring a ton of points, when Neal was in there and Bredesen was in there, Bellinger being back, I think this could be the week that we see a lot more of those. Let's get Saquon involved in the receiving game. Let's do some more bootlegs, and they'll keep doing it. But from this point on, playoffs or not, you have to trust Daniel Jones. And you really have – this has to be the evaluation. Week 13 to Week 18 has to be when you evaluate this quarterback fully, because you have to have this position figured out next year, because we can't go backwards next season. This season's been too good. It's been too much of an amazing breath of fresh air. Everything's been so unexpected that you cannot go backwards. And you really have to trust Daniel Jones. Trust Daniel Jones. He shows he has the arm strength. Don't let him be this dink and dunk quarterback. If you want him to be a manager, fine. But you also have to trust that he can make plays, because he's already proven that he can make some of these plays, because he's led us to a bunch of fourth quarter wins already this year. You have to trust him. And I think now that we're getting healthier, they're going to start letting that happen.
There could be an aspect that his safety blanket in Daniel Bellinger is partly the reason why they've been so afraid to pass the ball at all. I think you could also look at the interior offensive line. It's with Jack Anderson and Tyree Phillips. They probably don't want to put Daniel Jones in too much position of harm, trying to air the ball out downfield. However, Hodgins is getting himself open. Slayton is getting himself downfield better than any of us could have wished. And we have seen Daniel Jones, his strength is getting the ball downfield. His weakness, for me, is the way the Giants are using him.
The short throws, right?
the short throws, he overthrows them. He sometimes throws them too hard. Sometimes they're a little bit inaccurate. And as you saw when Saquon dropped that fourth down pass, which kind of changed the game. There was a couple of passes which he didn't have a particularly good game, Daniel Jones, but he wasn't awful. He didn't have a great game though. He missed certain throws, and considering the Giants barely threw the ball, it was all the more noticeable that when he did throw the ball and they were inaccurate, obviously it was more of a talking point. But I think the way they're using him isn't really doing him justice. If the way that they're using him right now is kind of like a Walmart Jimmy Garoppolo, right? Or it's kind of like he's the game manager and they're afraid to do anything, so it'll just be short throws and he's not going to run the ball much. They didn't design any run plays for him, and it takes away his greatest asset. His best asset is running the ball because he's one of the faster quarterbacks in the league, and his deep ball accuracy is better than his intermediate and short ball accuracy, in my personal opinion. And he doesn't see the ball, doesn't see the field particularly well at all, but he does see it better this year than he has in previous years. So he's definitely learning, he's definitely developing, but the way they're using him, they might as well just go and get Jimmy Garoppolo, in my opinion, with the way that they're using him. Or they might as well go and look at the draft for a game manager type, because I don't understand quite what their plan is with Daniel Jones. They are not learning anything by whatever this plan is. And I still think that this needs to be a year where they really assess Daniel Jones. I'm completely on your side of the fence with, in terms of, I'm on the fence with whether we should re-sign Daniel Jones. We're going to be, at the moment, we're 23rd, 24th currently. If the season finished now, we'd probably be picking 23rd or 24th.
Right. How
many good quarterbacks are going to be dropping that low, or even in our range so we could trade up? I don't know. I've done a lot of work on CJ Stroud. I think he's going to be elite. I think he looks wonderful, but there's going to be a ton of teams that want him. The Texans are probably going to get him, because they're tanking for a quarterback from the looks of things.
Exactly.
So, I mean, Will Levis is declared. I like Levis. But apart from, like, 3 names who I assume are all going to go top 10, is there anyone that's going to be as good as Daniel Jones dropping at 24? I'm not sure. So I'm not on the boat yet that we should re-sign him, because the way we're using him leads me to believe that they don't trust him. And maybe they've already made up their mind on that, because why wouldn't they be trying to utilize his best skill set unless they were like, I really don't trust him to be dominating games and throwing the ball downfield much. So let's just keep things very controlled and just ride Saquon as hard as we can. I'm not sure. Like, where do you think? Do you think they've made up their mind, or do you think that they're still deciding? Remember, they haven't discussed a contract with him. They did discuss a contract with Saquon. They have not discussed anything with Daniel Jones. Does that mean anything?
I don't know, because early in the year, Dable and Shane, they were very stern when they said Daniel Jones is the guy. Even when they had Tyrod Taylor practicing with the first team, they kept saying it's not a quarterback competition. There's not controversy here. Daniel Jones is the starter. Every time Brian Dable was asked about Daniel Jones, he's given like sparkling reviews. There was that one question where they mentioned Jones coming through in the fourth quarter. He went again, right? And he was just like, yeah, you see what I mean? So they've had his back plenty of times. They've defended him. They've basically given him the keys to this offense. But you're right, when they're not letting him test his best assets. So my problem is, if you do that and you let him walk and you draft a quarterback in the late 20s, let's just say for the sake of argument, Anthony Richardson falls to us. What are you going to get out of him? Because then you got to reset everything. Because
he ain't ready.
Exactly. And then that's a project. So is there going to be a quarterback, or do you get a guy? I don't think we can afford Garoppolo because he's having a really good year. He's having a good year. He's going to command big money, and there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to want him instead of drafting a quarterback, teams that are going to possibly be in our position. So San Francisco could be looking to bring him back because there's still uncertainty with Trey Lance. So can we afford that? Bring back Saquon, potentially have Odell on the books. We don't know yet, but there's a lot of questions to be asked there. But if they've made up their mind on Jones, I think that's a little unfair to him because even John Mara said we've done this guy no favors since we brought him in. And it's another year where they're going to be doing him no favors. We get it. The lack of talent is there, but you mentioned Hodgins is getting open. Slayton's getting open. Air the ball out. You can't give the ball to Saquon 30 times a game and expect the teams not to pick up on that and just load up the box because the last 2 weeks, that's exactly what they've been doing. And we noticed that when they go away from that, they bootleg. It opens up the offense, and that's a comment that's been brought up here by Luka as a passing game can set up the run. And we've seen that already. We've seen that with the Giants this year where the play action, it's not like we're throwing the ball 20, 30 yards down the field, but these simple bootlegs, it picks up 6, 7, 8 yards. You give to Saquon, he gets you another 3 or 4, and we methodically move down the field because we're not there yet to be that flashy, bang, bang, Kansas City Chiefs type of offense. We're not there. We can't be with the talent that we have. But we can be a methodical offense that even if we put up 3, hey, we can get down the field and get points instead of hand off Barkley, loses a yard or gets 1.
I love Luka's last point here. You're not learning anything for the future playing scared.
Exactly. And that's
a great point. And that's where we're all very much in agreement. I think they've been coaching scared. They've been coaching not to lose in games, which is very much the Jason Garrett, Joe Judge philosophy of, let's just try and keep things close. It's I don't know. It's a strategy that isn't going to get us anywhere.
Right.
I mean, I'd love to make the playoffs, but we all know that once we make the playoffs, we're going to get completely steamrolled when we're in the playoffs, in my opinion, right? Because we don't have the personnel. So I still think that we have to focus very much on the future. And that is what Joe Schoen is doing. He is very much treating this as year 1 of the rebuild. We know that there's a bunch of positions that need to be looked at. And the Cowboys game, I took as so it's never nice to lose. And obviously, I never wanted to lose against the Cowboys, but I expected us to lose against the Cowboys, especially with our injuries, especially with Adoree Jackson being out, and especially with Xavier McKinney being the play caller.
Half our starters were out.
Half our starters were out. So the fact that we hung close just, again, is a testament to how good our coaching was. But I expected us to lose the Cowboys. I wasn't overly upset that we lost the Cowboys at all. I just took it as a learning experience that these are the areas that we need to fix. So I think we should maybe get into some of these areas now. But yeah, to finish off on Daniel Jones, I'm really unsure. I mean, even watching Dable's press conference after the Cowboy game, he was more irritated than I've ever seen him. He looked pissed. He looked very pissed.
Yeah.
And he was asked specific questions about why Jones struggled against the Cowboys. And he's like, I know, I'm just not going to get into it. So, where the fault lies, I'm not quite sure what his thoughts are regarding who was at fault offensively for the Cowboys game. But I think that he knew deep down he didn't have a good game. So we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see where we are with Daniel Jones. I'm not yet on the train that we should re-sign him, just considering we're not using him in any way, which kind of utilizes his best strengths. So unless they start doing that more as the year goes on, then I'm not quite sure. I think his stock started off low, and then we went on this win streak to go 7-1 or whatever, and then it was right up high. And then these last couple of losses has shown his weaknesses and is back down a low again. Well, not low, but kind of mediocre again. So we're very much still. I'm very much still in the evaluation process with him. He's a better quarterback probably than he's ever been. So I'll give him that. And the fact that I'm already at the stage where I'm I'm not sure, is a huge improvement, considering that we started off this podcast. I was completely like, let's move on from Daniel Jones. Now the fact that I'm already at them, we'll wait and see, is a testament to how much Daniel Jones has worked at his game to be a better quarterback. So I think we can finish off him discussing him on that. Let's get into some of these weaknesses that we know that we have. Tier offensive line. Glowinski's not had a good year.
No.
And Jack Anderson ain't good.
Jack Anderson, Shane Lemieux. I looked at the PFF grades from last week, and I think Anderson was a little bit better than Lemieux the week before, but they were still like brutal. Absolutely brutal. Like, I don't think I've seen back-to-back grades. And I know PFF ain't the end-all, be-all, but it's a very good tool to look at when you're trying to evaluate a player, especially on the line. I think that works really well for offensive linemen, because Andrew Thomas had a rough game and they graded him as pretty average. Jack Anderson sucked, and Glowinski wasn't very good.
Yeah, because we watched the game film without.
Yeah, we did. And Nick Gates was actually incredible on Thursday. He was our best graded lineman and one of our best graded players on Thursday. So I think we have our center. Nick Gates was always good. He was great in 2020 and unfortunately had that injury that could have been career ending last year, but he came back from it. Nick Gates is a monster, man. And he even said it. He's like, I don't have a ton of talent in the world, so I got to make up for it with, being mean and being nasty. And he's doing that because he's starting fights with Aaron Donald and Micah Parsons now. He's just fighting everybody. But yeah, Bredesen, though, being back, I liked what Bredesen was doing before the injury. So I think that – I'm not saying he's the guy moving forward, but I think right now our weakest link is right guard. Glowinski has not been the player that we thought he would be. He's really underperformed this year.
I know, because he graded out as above average in run blocking, and it's been much worse than that. He's always never been particularly good with pass blocking, pass protection, but he's kind of been grading below average in both aspects, which is scary. So disappointed with him. Left guard has been kind of up in the air. Zudu's been a little better. Bredesen's been very good. I think Bredesen's been fine before he got hurt. Feliciano at center has not been good. Maybe we'd be better off with Feliciano playing left guard on Sunday and Gates playing center. I don't want to move Gates off of center. I think Gates needs to be our center moving forward. I don't know where you are on that, but
I agree.
If I was to, I don't think Feliciano's been good at center, so I would move him off of that. He might be better at guard because he's got experience playing guard. Andrew Thomas, not concerned about one bit. Listen, Strahan, OC, Tuck have made the best offensive linemen in the world look stupid from occasion, and that's what Micah Parsons did, man. But also Andrew Thomas was unwell, and being beat 2 or 3 occasions by the best edge rusher in football. I think we can give him a break, right? Let's give him a break. So it doesn't affect my view on how great Andrew Thomas has been. So
I got the jersey on today, man. That's my guy.
He's been wonderful, man. He's been fucking wonderful this year. So not too worried about that. But yeah, we got to work on the interior offensive line in the offseason. We also have to work on our secondary. And just the one injury toward Adoree Jackson completely screwed the whole thing up.
Don't forget Moreau.
Well, yeah. Yes, exactly. With Moreau hurt, then they had literally no corners. How would you assess how the secondary played against the Cowboys?
To be honest, I expected it to be a complete and utter blowout. The fact that they were holding their own for the most part in the first half, and then it was really in the second half, CeeDee Lamb just started going off. Michael Gallup made a couple of unbelievable catches. I don't remember exactly when it was in the game, but we were calling it, and we were like, dude, we can't blame the secondary because I think it was Lane and Flott in back-to-back plays that were right on, or it was McLeod and Flott. They were right on Gallup. Like, you could not have played better defense, and he just made great catches. And it's like, you can't put that on the corner. You could put that on the receiver. That's just a great play. And then we saw them get toasted in the second half. CeeDee Lamb was just having his way with Darnay Holmes. He's having his way with whoever was on him. They didn't have to throw it to anybody else. Healthy, I like our group. I love Adoree Jackson. I love McKinney. Julian Love is fantastic. I would like to see Landon Collins out there playing, but I know he's a linebacker technically now. They just won't activate him for cap purposes. But I love Fabian Moreau has been a breath of fresh air. He's been so much better than anyone could have thought. And I think if you have a healthy group that allows a guy like McLeod to play a little bit of slot corner, maybe Darnay Holmes plays a little bit better. Maybe Cordell Flott can develop better playing inside rather than outside because we've been having him play outside due to injuries. So
I don't think Lane played against the guy. It was Rodarius Williams. Lane was cut.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Rhodey played really well yesterday.
Yeah, well, yesterday game. Rodarius Williams, he was actually probably our best corner in my opinion. He made a couple of plays. Yeah, obviously the interception was great. Moreau was a huge loss. McLeod was good in the first half and then toast in the second half. Cordell Flott looks like he is not even close to being ready for the NFL, in my opinion. He looks undersized and he's getting hurt far too often. Yeah, he's always getting hurt. He just looks undersized for the position, in my opinion. Certainly in the outside, he's struggling to keep up with elite receivers. Maybe he gets better with another training camp and more development in the offseason, but as of right now, he is not close to being ready. I mean, I don't know. It was hard to criticize them, but as you say, CeeDee Lamb was making incredible plays. And apart from Darnay Holmes getting toasted, there wasn't too many occasions where we got completely toasted. I mean, there was some lapses, but in general, we kind of hung with them. They were just that good. And you just tip your cap and just go, hey, CD is an elite receiver for a reason. But let's touch on some of Alex's comments here. Thanks so much. Worried more about the O than the defense. I'm scared about Feliciano jumping back into the lineup. He probably is a slight upgrade over Jack Anderson. Agree. Hopefully, Fabian returns this week, as it looks like Azeez Liam was caught a few weeks ago.
Well, that would be great to have Azeez back because we had no pass rush. That was our biggest problem. We had no pass rush at all against the Cowboys. Apart from Kayvon.
Dude, Kayvon was so good on Thursday.
Yeah.
He was so damn good. And I really, really want people to start looking deeper into the stat sheet for him because it's the same thing that happened when we got Leonard Williams. He's not getting sacks. He's overrated. He's not worth it. But the guy was getting quarterback hits. He was bringing pressures. Kayvon Thibodeau was a one-man wrecking crew on Thursday. But that missed sack on Dak Prescott in the second half did change the game. It can't happen. So hopefully with Azeez back, it opens things up for the pass rush to get more pressure and hopefully get some more sacks. I think that will be the case. Maybe not immediately, but over the course of the game and the course of the coming weeks, it will. But I'm going to be honest, I'm way more concerned with our run defense than I are with our secondary. I cannot stand our linebackers right now. I like McFadden, but
that's a great point.
You can't trust.
Remember we watched the game at first and we thought, hey, Jalen Smith's having a great game. And then we watched the film. It's like, he's not having a good game.
Exactly. I think if we're going to go into the offseason and what do we assess the most on this defense, you need a middle linebacker. Do I think McFadden can be there? One of those guys? Sure. I think he can be a good second middle linebacker, but is he your number one?
Second middle linebacker. I think he's good in coverage, but he doesn't gauge blocks and do too much. Although he did have one element where he was starting to be more of a pass rusher, and he had one or two decent moments. But in general, I think he'd be a solid number two. But I completely agree, we desperately need a number one, Mike. Desperately. Yeah,
that is the position we need to address the most because the fact that our interior defensive line is when it's been my biggest criticism since week one. When you get past Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams, who's making the tackle? That second level, we don't have the guys, especially with McKinney hurt. They don't play Landon Collins. Who's making that tackle? It ain't Tate Crowder. It ain't Jalen Smith. you can't be like, these are the guys moving forward. Tay Crowder was the literal last pick of the draft. McFadden was a 5th, 6th round pick, whatever it was. You can't be looking at these guys and go, they have to be the answer. It's not fair to them. There's a reason they were picked so late. They can be depth pieces. They can be guys that start for you in a pinch, sure, but you can't say that's the future. That not just yet. They needed a number one. They really do. And we know why they don't have one. They couldn't pick one up in free agency. They don't have the money. And they had to address other positions in the draft. You needed a pass rush. You needed a tackle. They got that. So, and they may have missed on a couple of those day 2 picks, but this year they have to address that immediately. It has to be priority to me, that because if you fix that position, the secondary, and you know you're going to get pressure from that front 4, I think the secondary is going to hold up a lot better, healthy, and I think you're going to see a heck of a lot better defense from Wink Martindale.
Oh, agreed completely. Alex has a suggestion as to how we could improve our linebacker scenario. Giants should pursue Tremaine Edmonds. Boom. That would be a dream come true.
I like it.
I
Do
like
they have
it.
the money, though? Do they?
Wish it into existence. Okay, so why don't we get into our Skins preview and start from there? What is the keys to beating I call it the Skins, the Commanders,
The
When did
Washington Commanders.
Commanders?
What is the key? Open up the playbook. That's what I'll say. Offensively, open up the playbook. Their defensive line is terrifying. Their defense is very good, but their defensive front, and they don't even. I don't know if they're getting Chase Young back this week because they didn't get him back last week, but I don't know if he's playing. But their defense is already really good without him, and when they get him back, it's going to be even better. That front is terrifying. They have to get the ball out quick because you are going to put Daniel Jones' life in jeopardy against this front 4. Get the ball out quick. Let Saquon play in the receiving game. Get Matt Breida involved. Open up the playbook. Kafka, this is the week. You're healthier, a lot healthier than you were a week ago. Open things up. Let's try to get some quick strikes, get some early points. You've got to set the tempo. If you get the ball first, you got to go down the field and score. I don't care if it's 3 or if it's 7, but you've got to set the tempo early and stick with it. If it's working on drive 1, don't shy away from it. Kafka, this is a week where you can really test things out because you're healthy. Go ahead and do it. Open up that playbook. And defensively, bring the damn heat. Heineke's already thrown 5 picks, and he hasn't played every game. Make him uncomfortable. He can throw the ball. He can turn the ball over. Make him uncomfortable. Get some takeaways. If our secondary is a little bit better, if Moreau plays. Rhodey had a great game last week. Let's bring the heat. Make him uncomfortable. We need to start dialing up the blitzes again with Azeez back. Get some sacks. Get some pressure on the quarterback. That's how this defense will succeed.
List of these sacks. These stats. Montez Sweat, 7 sacks. Daron Payne, 6.5 sacks. Jonathan Allen, 6.5 sacks. Jamin Davis, 3 sacks. Efe Obada, 3 sacks. Listen to tackles for a loss. Montez Sweat, 11 tackles for a loss. Daron Payne, 13 tackles for a loss. Jonathan Allen, 14 tackles for a loss. Oh, my God. Interceptions. Their defense can also intercept the ball. Derek Forrest has 3 already. Kendall Fuller has 2. Jonathan Allen even has 1. Touchdowns on defense. Kendall Fuller has a touchdown. Forced fumbles. Derek Forrest has 2 forced fumbles. 3 interceptions and 2 forced fumbles. And a fumble recovery. He's having a really good year, Derek Forrest. I mean, just that defense is frightening, man. Especially Jonathan Allen. 6.5 sacks, 14 tackles for a loss, and he's sack yards of 54. Holy mackerel. I'm terrified to air it out with that defensive line. I'm terrified to run the ball because Saquon's going to have to get to fight through that D-line. We cannot sleep on this Commander defense.
You cannot. And I think if we do win this game, it's going to be very low scoring. We're not putting up 24, 27 points in this game. If we win this game, it's going to be like 21-17 or something. We have to keep them out of the end zone. It's got to be bend but don't break because they're going to get yards against us, but we need to get some takeaways. And if we can just put up maybe 21, that might be enough. I'm not sure. I have a very rough feeling with this game because I cannot underestimate this Washington team because they have been very good since Heineke took over.
They've been getting better since I would say maybe over the last 6-7 games, their defense has really stepped up and they've just been so good. How are they going to get time to pass the ball with that pass rush?
That's a very good question. I can't even speak.
Good question. It's so scared
they've scared me so much. They got me stumbling over my words. I don't know, but maybe with a healthier offensive line, it's the healthiest they've been pretty much all season since week 1. You gotta give Daniel Jones at least 5 seconds to throw the football, and that's being generous because these guys can get back there in a freaking heartbeat. It's going to be difficult.
So they started off 1-4, right? They lost 4 straight games, and it looked like after the Tennessee game, they reevaluated their game plan because week 6 against Chicago, they won 12-7. Right? This is like old school football. Then they beat Green Bay 23-21. So we're right back into the defense again. Beat Indianapolis 17-16. So they are not giving up points at all. Only lost to Minnesota 2017. Came back and just beat the pants off of Philadelphia defensively, winning 32-21. Beat up Houston 23-10. It was actually much bigger than that in actuality. And then beat Atlanta 19-13. So they are giving up no points at all, man. 13 points, 10 points, 16 points, 21 points, 7 points. This team doesn't give up points at all. I'm very concerned. The more I read about this, the more concerned I am. I mean, that pass rush is just monstrous. It's very good that we're getting our guys back, but I mean, this Commanders team is going to absolutely fight us hard.
You're not wrong about that. Should we get into our predictions for the game here?
Let's do it.
Alex already has his, so I'll put it up on the screen. So we'll start with Daniel Jones. He's got DJ going for 230 yards passing, 56 rushing. So
you have Daniel Jones having like an all-world night. Well, to be honest, he does have a very good record against Washington. It's like the only team he does really well against. So there could be a reason for that. Okay. Saquon, he ain't getting nothing. That's quite conservative and probably quite accurate. But let's be honest, if he runs for 41 yards, he ain't winning this game.
It's probably true. He's got Hodgins as a leading receiver. Bellinger with the first touchdown, that'd be great. 2 sacks for the defense. And McLeod gets the first turnover. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have a score prediction.
We'll wait and see what. Oh, does he? Oh, he actually has his winning, but I don't know what his score prediction is. Tony has Jones 179 total yards and a touchdown.
That's around where I would put him. I think he's going to have about 180. I'll say 187.
Okay, so Rob, you got Jones 187 yards
and a touchdown.
1 TD. Any turnovers?
I think he'll have. If he doesn't, that'd be a freaking godsend. I think he's going to have at least. I'll say 1.
Okay, 1 turnover.
Probably a fumble.
1 turnover. Tony has us losing 23-20.
Damn it, Tony. Well, he's wrong last time he predicted it, so let's hope that sticks.
I can't argue with him on that. Okay. So, Rob, you got Jones, 187 yards, a touchdown, turnover. First of all, what's your score prediction?
I think because we're at home, it gives us a bit of an advantage. I think this team's going to be fired up. They've had some days off, They got some big guys back. They know how important this game is. Dable came in this week and said, our season starts now. Let's hope that they're fired up for it. I think it's going to be a fight, a battle. These are two teams that are playing for their playoff lives. I think we edge it out just by a little bit, 19-17.
Love it. 1917, that's makes a lot of sense. Okay. So I have the Giants winning on the Boys in the Big Apple podcast. But the more I read about their defense, the more I think that they are more ready to win this game than we are. So for that reason, sorry, Giant Nation, I have the Giants losing 20-17. Pretty much the same score, but the other way around. So I'll go Washington winning 20-17. My Daniel Jones prediction, I think, is very much in the 180 range in terms of passing. So you've got 187. I'll go 179. I've got a strip sack, him getting strip sacked, and one interception.
Rough day for Danny.
Yeah. I just don't know how they're going to deal with that interior line that they've got. Saquon, I'm a little bit more positive that Saquon will, after about 10 days off, maybe gets a little bit more legs back. Let's give him 90 yards rushing. Keeps us in it, but maybe even a touchdown too. But yeah, we will see. To be honest, looking at it, I think the Giants could win this. Could maybe shock everyone and win the second matchup that we have, and in the head-to-head, the latter matchup actually counts more. So I think the Giants will take one of the two games against Washington. I just think that Washington will got their tails up. They beat Philadelphia. The Giants' tails are a little down right now, so that's why I'm going Washington right now. But how many sacks have you got the Giants getting?
Alex has 2. I haven't even given my Saquon prediction yet, but Saquon, I think he'll get, I don't know, he hasn't ran the ball well. I think he's going to get about 70. I don't think he'll get the end zone.
Okay.
I think we're going to get one touchdown and then a bunch of field goals. That's how our offense goes.
Usually. Absolutely, usually. So Alex has 2 sacks. You have...
I say 1 because we haven't had any the last 2 weeks. I don't think we're going to get – I think we'll get more pressure, and I think just about 1 sack.
Okay.
We don't get sacks. Just don't do it.
We don't, but we kind of need to. But I think Heineke is more stationary, so I think we've got a better chance of getting a sack or two because we were so close to getting multiple sacks against the Cowboys. But we got held. Thibodeau got held on a number of occasions, which the officials didn't call, as usual. And obviously he missed the tackle for the sack as well. So I'm going to go 3 for the G-Men.
I take it.
I'll take it too. First turnover for the G-Men.
I think it is going to be Rodarius Williams gets a pick.
You're going Rod.
I like Roddy. He played really well. He surprised me last week.
Okay. I think Jefferson's back from, so our secondary should be improved.
Right.
Is Moreau back?
That's still up in the air. I think we'll find out today with the final injury report what his status is. But as of now, he's been limited in practice, so there's a chance he plays.
I do see Heineke throwing an interception because he tends to do that. I think the Giants will maybe force 1 or 2 turnovers in this game. Just who will it be? I'm going to go Julian Love.
Safe bet. He's our best player.
Yeah.
Dex.
Okay.
How about the leading receiver?
Leading receiver.
Alex has Hodgins.
So there can really only be one. Slayton. I'm getting in ahead of you, so I'll go Slayton.
I'm going to go Bellinger.
All right. I still think that we hold off on receiver unless like we land a receiver at some point in the next few weeks. Hopefully Odell, but
Well, I think Tuesday is a decision, so that'll be a big day.
The decision.
And then
I
who
think
gets the first touchdown?
we're going to find out about Aaron Judge as well. I have a feeling
That'd be a big day. Imagine if we get Judge back with the Yankees and Odell back with the Giants on the same day.
God.
Might have to call off for work.
Oh my God! Oh yeah, party time.
First touchdown. Alex has Bellinger.
I got Saquon. Just playing it safe.
I've got us going only one touchdown. I think Jones is going to throw this one. And I'm going to say he gets it to Hodgins. Yeah, it's either going to be Slayton or Hodgins. I'll say Hodgins gets it.
Okay.
Bellinger.
So, Rob has us winning 1917. I have us losing 2017. Tony has us losing 23-20. We don't know what Alex has score prediction wise. Does he put it in the chat?
I have not seen it. He has us winning, but never said the score.
Right. Okay. So, should we get into our weekly picks? Weekly matchup?
Let's see how we did a week ago. The week, because I know you took week 11 with your Monday night prediction. But week 12 might be a little bit closer. Let's see.
So, Lions, Bills, we had the Bills.
Yep.
Bucks, Broncos, we had the Bucks.
Bucks played the Browns.
Browns, sorry. My fault. Can't read my own writing. Bucks, Browns, we had the Bucks.
That's an L for both of us.
Yep. Thanks, Brady. Actually, no, I should be criticizing Bowles, Todd Bowles. Like, dude screwed that game up. Vikings, Patriots, we had the Vikings.
All right, we're still tied.
We both had the Bengals.
All right.
Chicago, you had Chicago, Rob.
Yeah, I know you had the Jets. I didn't think Mike White was going to go off. I don't.
Actually, Boys in the Big Apple, I had the Jets, but for some reason with you, I had the Chicago. So you got a lucky break. You got a lucky escape.
We're still tied at 3.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Rob, you had the Broncos. I had the Panthers.
So now you got the leg up.
There you go. Falcons versus Commandos. We both had the Falcons.
Did we?
Yep.
Son of a.
Son of a.
Did I really pick the Falcons over the... I'm sorry, Washington Commanders fans.
But Rob, no, you actually had the Cowboys as well. I had the Cowboys. Okay. Texans, Miami. We both had Miami. Okay. Let's get to the latter ones. Chargers, Cards. Rob, you had the Cards.
Why do I keep?
I had the Chargers. So thank you very much for my guy Herbert and Austin Eckler, who just turned it on when it looked like they're about to lose. They went and saved the day with a touchdown, 2-point conversion. They saved the day. That was huge. Thank you very much, Chargers. Ravens, Jags. We both had the Ravens.
Wrong about that one.
Mm-hmm. Rams, Chiefs. Obviously, I had the Chiefs. I mean, it'd be crazy to go with the Rams. Packers, E-Girls. Rob, you went the Packers for some reason.
Thought they'd do it.
I went the Eagles. We both went the Colts over the Steelers. The Saints, Niners, we both had the Niners. And that's it.
Yeah, that gives you the week. You took it by a pretty wide margin.
What was the score?
Let me just get the final tally here. I had I only had 7.
Yikes.
You had 10.
I'm still pissed off at some of those picks that I made.
What's up, Nick, in the chat? Thank you for popping in.
What up? What up? What up? Well, let's get into next week's.
Hopefully a bounce back. Donald's catching up here in the standings. I haven't checked the standings actually, but I know that I had a leg up on you for about a about a game lead on you. But now, I think we're either we could be tied up, or you could have the lead at this point for these last 2 weeks.
We'll have to go through it. I'll have to check that out.
All right, so we have already started off Commanders, Giants. You got the Commanders. I got the Giants.
Okay, here we go. So,
and whoever's in the chat here, just feel free to drop your predictions as well. I know Alex already has his picks up here as well, so I'll flash those on the screen.
Okay.
Steelers, Falcons, 4-7 versus 5-7. It's in Atlanta.
Give me the Falcons.
Yeah, I'm going to go Falcons as well. Alex has Atlanta as well. Oof. Who would have thought the Packers would be 4-8 at this point? But they are going into Chicago to take on the Bears, who are just decimated by injuries. I don't see how the Bears win this game, even with the Packers playing like bleh.
Yep. I agree with you, actually. I'm going the Pack.
This one could actually be a fun game, despite the records. 4-7 Jaguars against the 4-7 Lions.
Very fun game. I think it's going to be a very high scoring, actually. Both teams can't defend the pass.
Tony's predicting a tie, I believe, for the Packer game. Or this could be for the Lion-Jaguar game. I think the Lions take it at home. Their offense is very strong. Very strong.
Completely agree with you, I'm afraid.
Ooh. Jets at the Vikings. The Jets are riding on cloud 9 right now. Mike White is the second coming of Joe Namath.
He's the franchise quarterback.
Zach Wilson, you're done. Mike White, you're in. It's in Minnesota. The Vikings, according to Yahoo, only have a 3-point advantage. Really? Interesting. I kind of want to go with the Jets here.
Okay.
I'm going to go with the Jets. I think they pull off the upset.
I'm going to go Vikes.
Tony, we appreciate you popping in.
Thank you so much for popping in, man. All the best. Yeah, okay, I'm going to go Vikes. Let's go Jefferson.
I want to see that matchup. Sauce against Justin Jefferson.
Oh, boy, that's a dream come true, man.
Come on now. That's football right there. We got Titans, Eagles. How is that not flexed?
That's a good matchup. Rob.
Put me on the spot here. At home, I got to go Philly. I think it's going to be a good game, but I just don't see Philadelphia losing.
The Eagles are so freaking good, but I actually have the Titans.
Ooh.
They struggled against the run against Green Bay, so I'm banking on them struggling against the best running back in football, Derrick Henry.
We got the Denver Broncos at 3-8, who I believe
Your
if the
favorite.
let's ride. The stat is if they would have scored like 18 points a game, they would be like 8-3 or something like that.
Oh
It's
my
insane.
God.
And they're going against the Ravens, who are kind of struggling lately. They're not looking as good as they have, but it's in Baltimore. This could be a get-right game for the Ravens. Give me Lamar.
Give me Lamar all day. No more riding with the Broncos. I made that mistake at the start of the year. All it's done is kick me in the ass, so it ain't happening again.
The return of Mr. Massage himself, Deshaun Watson, returns to take on his former team, the Texans. I don't like that he's allowed to play, and the fact that they said, "Oh yeah, we'll bump up your suspension to so happen to play against your former team."
Yeah, funny that. I don't know how that happened. That was just coincidence, right?
So coincidental. How did that happen? Just like Roger Goodell, planned it. I think the Browns win it though. I'd love to see the Texans win it. I really would, because I hate Deshaun Watson.
I mean, I can't understand how anyone think that the Texans are going to win this game.
I just don't think they can.
No, I think they're in tank mode. Okay, so yeah.
All right, Seahawks travel into SoFi Stadium and take on the 3-8 Rams, who have been probably the biggest disappointment of the season.
Oh yeah, they are frauds.
Seattle's kind of tailed off a little bit, but I think the Rams are just so atrocious right now. I can't pick them.
Same.
Give me Seattle. This could be game of the week. We got a couple of game of the week nominees coming up here. Dolphins, 49ers.
Great game. Great game. Can't wait. I've gone Miami.
The Niners defense is probably the toughest defense the Dolphins will face. It's going to be a real test because their offense can put up points in a blink.
Yep.
Waddle, we know Hill, we know Tua can air it out to these boys. It's in San Francisco.
It's true.
I'm going to take the Niners at home. Otherwise, I would take Miami.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, it's the same mindset as me. I'd actually go the Niners most weeks. I think their defense is incredible. I think they're going to be terrifying in the playoffs once they get there. But on this occasion, I'm going to go with Miami. So that's a little bit of a fun one. So far, we differentiate on Miami 49ers, Eagles, Titans, Vikings, Jets. That's it. Obviously the Communists and the Giants. So okay, so right, future games. Here we go.
Chiefs, Bengals, another game of the week.
Oh man, I cannot wait for that game.
The 4:25 game. This is another candidate for prime time. I don't know how these games.
Did that not get Sunday night football? The two best quarterbacks in football, arguably.
I've been riding with the Bengals all year. I just don't know if they can beat Kansas City right now. I got to go Mahomes and the Chiefs. Although I wouldn't be surprised if the Bengals won.
I got to go with my homie.
I may be the good luck charm for this team. We got the Chargers and the Raiders. I have not picked the Raiders the last couple of weeks, and they've won both times.
How good was Josh Jacobs? 238 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. Did he have like 70 yards receiving? He was stupid. Absolutely stupid game from Josh Jacobs.
So guess what, Raider Nation? I'm still picking against you. Give me the Chargers.
Dude, you caught me there. You caught me. Okay. The Chargers have to win. They can't afford to lose. If they want to be a playoff contender,
They have to win this game.
they got to win this game. So we know how the Chargers are with must-win games. They tend to lose. So I would not be a bit surprised if Josh Jacobs just tears them apart, but I will go the Chargers. I think they have to win.
The Sunday night game, we got the Colts visiting the Cowboys. Oh, my God. Dallas. I'd be upset, actually, if the Colts go to Dallas and beat them. As crazy
Why?
as that sounds. Because if they can do it, why couldn't we?
It's true.
Colts have been pretty abysmal.
Oh, yeah. We're going Cowboys.
And then we wrap it up with the Saints and the Bucks. 5-6 Buccaneers, first place in the South. At home, hosting the Saints. I flip a coin. The Bucks are another disappointing team.
Yeah.
I'll take the Bucks.
I'm taking the Bucks too.
Brady's pissed. He lost to the Browns. He's probably screaming his head off again.
So we're basically in agreement, apart from like 3 games. So
Should be interesting to see how the week goes. But that should wrap it up for us here at Nerd and Out Sports. Thank you to everybody that was in the comments. Nick popped in, of course, Tony Clark, Alex. We saw Luca. Thank you guys for watching and thank you for commenting. Hopefully, we come back to you to wrap up this Giants game talking about a W, because a third straight loss would be pretty difficult. But be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Hit that notification bell so you'll be notified when we go live and whenever the videos are up afterwards for you to check out. We will see you all very, very soon to break down Giants Commanders. Biggest game of the season. The playoffs start. The season starts now. Let's hope Dave's has these boys ready to go. Once again, thank you all for watching. We will see you all very soon. Let's go, G-Men. Peace out.
let's go blue. Peace out.